All right, so the team are together. We're sitting here in the Port Hills. Our page has been officially wiped today, so we instantly just started a new one because that's the way we roll. But how did it make you feel, Hayley, when the page got taken down and after all the work that's gone into it?
Yeah, I mean, we've put in a lot of hard work over the last, well, I guess a year, hasn't it been? So yeah, I mean, it was pretty disappointing, but also could see it coming.
Just a smidge, could see it coming.
Yeah.
What do you reckon, Jake? What did you think?
I'm not surprised.
Is it?
I mean, when we are dealing with these career criminals, there's no surprise. Like there's no boundaries. So I thought it would be taken off sooner, to be honest. They have no reason behind taking your channel, so I didn't see why they needed a reason to take Operation People's channel.
There's a big difference between Chantal Baker and Operation People, you know, like we kind of do talk about quite a few different things, and we're trying to do a lot more investigative work on OP as opposed to my stuff, which was mainly kind of political commentary and social commentary about what's going on. And that's what did surprise me about this, is that it is a registered media company. We do a lot of investigative pieces, but do you think it's fair when they can just label things disinformation with zero proof, and then the media takes that, puts that out to the world, so now we get that we're disinformation with zero proof, with nothing that they can say that we've actually said, and yet somehow that justifies the government being able to censor us actively using private companies?
Yeah, I think it comes back to what we're discussing in that podcast we did, that first one with me, and you know, there's a narrative setting sector out there, and they set that narrative that's then used to do all this other stuff. And so I find it extremely disingenuous because they don't engage. They themselves set a narrative and don't provide the facts. Like, you know, we provide the facts. We gave them the emails and it was their words, not ours. And so,
what links have you found that made you the most worried? Because you've been mapping out how all of these groups are interacting with each other. Was there one that you saw that you were like, oh, that's really concerning?
It's not just limited to New Zealand. I mean, we're seeing like the Twitter files being released now with Elon Musk's takeover of Twitter, and we're seeing what's happened in behind the Twitter and the narrative setting there, and how some of these people have weaponized some of these platforms. So even some of the links that I've been looking at are some organizations that have been contracted to our government, but they're actually overseas organizations, and they're a bit like the Disinformation Project here. They're narrative setters. They're trailblazing that narrative, which then other agencies can then come in behind. You know, it's outside influence, it's outside of New Zealand, and they're being contracted to the New Zealand government to set that narrative. That to me is concerning, and that's contracted to almost the tune of $250,000, and we just got that OIA back recently as well. So
I think this is a good thing. I think this is a great thing. It just shows that we're on the right path, and it gives us fuel to get this story out to international channels.
Big groups that also care about freedom of speech and democracy, because it is so important. And I mean, I made a comment the other day on a show where I said that I don't think New Zealand's in a democracy anymore. And people, you know, so very few people kind of question that, but a few still did. But I truly believe that. I think they've changed the name of our country without a vote, and that's completely undemocratic. And what worse could you do to a nation than change the name without a vote? Very few people kind of question that, but a few still did. But I truly believe that. I think they've changed the name of our country without a vote, and that's completely undemocratic. And what worse could you do to a nation than change the name without a vote?
And you know, those people that were opposed to you saying that, well, their comments didn't end well. The next day, our page was gone again. That's censorship of a media company. Yes, we're critical of the government's perspectives in some cases, but only where it's warranted, only where we're finding the evidence, only where we're finding their documents and their words to justify that criticism. Maybe they'll rethink their position on democracy in New Zealand.
It's exciting. It's exciting seeing that there's opportunity, but where do you think the opportunity personally lies with media when it comes to New Zealand? Like, where do you think the gaps are?
Well, there's like two conflicting ideas here, right? There's this postmodernist idea, which is post-truth. And so they don't even believe that there is one truth that we can all actually find. The postmodernist kind of post-truth ideal is that, you know, what's true for you is not necessarily true for me. Well, you can't operate in a media space like that, because the objective of the media is to actually dig in and find this stuff. And really the way to test media is to see what they produce, see what evidence they produce.
Let the people's majority rule. Let the people decide what is true, because at the end of the day, the majority of people are going to figure out what is true and what is untrue. But the fact that we get silenced, the people don't even get to hear our perspective. And
Yeah.
they're silencing us for a reason, because they're like, damn, that hurt, you know? That's true, that's backed up.
Yeah, the truth hurts.
Yeah, with documents. That was a quick pull, you know, that hurt them. That was a real, you know, they're winded right now. Phil, have you got OIAs underway already for this recent pull? 24 hours after the takedown?
No, not yet. Not for this particular takedown. I think, you know, to do research, you have to be strategic. You have to do your groundwork first, and you have to work out the places to look. You can't just sort of shotgun approach it and look everywhere. You've got to be strategic. So
Yeah, sniper rifle. Yeah.
You've got to uncover the information that's going to, you know, tell that story.
So Phil's setting up his sniper rifle. He's decided.
Oh my God. And SWAT teams at the house in 3, 2, 1. Hypothetically, there is a really great space available to us here where people are craving information, and when we say that we're independent, we have absolutely no affiliation to government, to any government agencies, and I think this word independence is thrown around too often. I mean, every single government agency somehow manages to label themselves as independent. You're not independent, you're state affiliated media and you're state sponsored media. You're given donations and advertising by our state, and so I think that this notion of independence has really been completely, I would say, desecrated in New Zealand, because it's not true. And I think that they should start saying that our state-affiliated media, and then people can decide, okay, cool, as long as I know that this is state-affiliated, then I can find something that's independent and see both sides. And unfortunately, with silencing of voices on one side, all you're hearing is a state-affiliated message. And I think that RNZ merger is another sign of that, right? Willie Jackson made it very clear that they wanted to influence the narrative with this merger, and that's deeply concerning, because they shouldn't be trying to influence the narrative. They should actually be wanting media to be independent, find the truth, and hold people that are corrupt to account, rather than holding people that are corrupt on a pedestal and giving them more money. And unfortunately, that's what we're seeing at the moment.
In the scientific field, someone who's doing research has to publish their conflict of interest. And so for us, we don't have any when it comes to government, when it comes to investing in the government, which is what we do. You know, we are here as the fourth estate, they say. We're sort of another arm where we're keeping the government accountable and transparent to its citizens. We don't have any conflict of interest there, and so like it is quite freeing. And when this happens, you know, it just, when we get deplatformed and there's potential for it to have some sort of government involvement, I mean, we have seen that, but we're not saying that this is what's happened in this case, but it does give us the resolve to keep digging, keep looking, and to go further.
I doubt they've used emails this time.
You know?
They're pretty wise to that narrative. Probably just phone call, I'd suspect.
And when I was in Special Forces, in the SAS, we had a saying, and it was, "We are the pilgrims, master, we shall go always a little further." And I think that really applies to what we're doing. We're a small team, but we're high impact, and like, you know, we'll always go a little further. And when the going gets tough, the tough get going. And I think that's really, you know, we thrive on that, I think, in this team.
We're always going to double down. It's like, no matter what they do, we're going to come harder. We're going to work more. We're going to work longer hours. We're going to work into the night. We're going to work 24/7, because we know that this is wrong. And that's where this passion started for me. And I know it's the same with all of you guys as well, is that we know something is deeply wrong in our country, and we're going to do what it takes to highlight it, to expose it, and to try and fix it, because we actually don't want to live in this country that is going so haywire. I think we all just miss the old New Zealand. We miss a good New Zealand. We're good people, and we just want a good future.
You know, and we're operating under two systems of morals. On one side, we've got people who really value the truth, and that's why we give you the documents. You know, that's why we provide those. The other side is just a lot of hearsay. It's just you know, and they don't seem to value the truth, and we've got more information that's coming out to show you how easily they can flip from one side to the next. So yeah, definitely keep tuned in for some more of that research, showing just that perspective on how easily some of these people can flip when their goal seems to be that they're going for some sort of power move rather than some sort of moral compulsion.
It'll be interesting to see if any political parties get behind us at this move, just the sheer fact of what they're doing, they're silencing a New Zealand media company.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I can't imagine that they will. I think the majority of our political parties have been very silent when it's come to anybody that they deem as not being politically correct.
Yep.
And we aren't politically correct. I mean, we're going after issues people don't want to talk about. We're exposing the government in areas people are hiding from, and we're not scared of anybody. We're a nightmare to political parties because
or a media company. Like, this is a big story right here.
Yeah.
Another
you're right.
media company has been shut down by this big platform. So I'll be interested to see if any of these media companies take up on this story.
Yeah.
It's like to groups that say they care about free speech. How much do you care about it? Or do you only care about it as long as your funders are happy?
Yeah.
And as long as it fits that narrative, there is that narrative that's shaped. Like you say, political correctness is a narrative constructed to censor. Political correctness itself is a form of censorship because it sets a boundary around what's allowed to be said and what's not. And anyone that operates outside of that political correctness is a heretic to the religion in a way. Yeah.
But you know what? I've always liked standing against the grain. I think it's important. I think it's important that we come out strong. I think it's important that people are given a voice. And I think it's important that as much as they can try and silence people, that people go no and we push back early. Because the problem is the longer people wait to push back against authoritarian governments and against suppression of information, the worse things will get and the worse countries get. And historically, that's been proven to be accurate and true.
Yeah.
So we've got a great opportunity and I'm excited. And I want to thank all of you guys for all the work you've put in. And I know it's frustrating, but at the same time it's exciting again because when someone, it's like David and Goliath. And right now the opportunity is all ours and people always back the little guy, and that's what we are. We're just a small team of hardworking people and we want to make a difference.
Yeah.
Operation People.